Hey there, Furman family. We are back again. Megan is on the back side of the camera, and she's set up a display for us here today. We're going to talk today about the difference between the different families of generators that Furman Power Equipment offers. We've grouped our generators into three main categories, three main families. Those are our Whisper series, our Hybrid series, and our Performance series. If you go to our website, www.firmanpowerequipment.com, I don't think you have to say the www part anymore. I'm not really sure, but firmanpowerequipment.com, you're going to find those three categories. You go to shop, and then little boxes will pop up. You'll see Performance and Whisper and Hybrid. There's some pretty big differences between the generators and all those families. There's a lot of different options available in each family. We'll talk about that as well. So let's start with our Whisper series generators. This is our 1781. It's a W01781. Whisper series generators are all categorized as inverter generators. The two biggest things about an inverter generator is that they're very fuel efficient and they're very quiet. And there's a binder clip on our rack. Me too. They're very fuel efficient and they're very quiet. So they're fuel efficient for a pretty big reason. They have inverter technology. So this generator, when it's running, it has a gasoline powered engine, and when it's running, it's creating DC power that's going into an inverter module that's digital. That inverter module inverts that power from DC into AC, and that's what comes out of these AC outlets. It also has a cigarette lighter port that's DC, if I can open that. And it has a USB port right there and parallel ports. But the AC power that comes out has gone through an inverter module. That makes the power really clean, makes it less than 3% total harmonic, makes it less than 3% total harmonic distortion, but also contributes to the decibel rating on this generator. This one runs at 54 decibels, which is very, very quiet. It could be running, we would never run it indoors, of course, but it could be running right near us and you wouldn't bother your conversation at all. A part of the reason that it's quiet is that it's encased in a plastic housing, but also because it varies its engine speed based on load. So that part of the inverter technology makes it quiet and makes it fuel efficient. So if let's say you're tailgating and you're powering a 300 watt TV, and you only need 300 watts, but this can make 1700 watts. So to make 1700 watts, it's gonna run about 3600 RPM. But it senses that load, so it knows it only needs 300 watts for your TV, so it's gonna idle down and maybe run at 1800 watts or 2200 watts just to make the power that's being demanded of it. So obviously that's gonna make it quieter, the engine's running more slowly, and it's also gonna make it more fuel efficient because it's burning less gas. It actually controls the throttle and burns less gas. So for example, this little inverter holds 0.9 gallons of gas, and it'll run for nearly 10 hours on 0.9 gallons, so just under
amazing.
1 gallon.
Yeah.
It is pretty amazing. By the way, one of the great uses for this little inverter, if you're a person that camps or RVs, a lot of people out there will use this where they'll run it all night. So they've got it at the end of a cord. It's 25 feet or even 50 feet away at the end of a cord. And so when you're in nice weather where you don't need to run your air conditioner all night and you're dry camping without being able to plug in an RV park, you can run this all night and charge your batteries that are in your RV overnight. And maybe if you're a person that sleeps with a CPAP machine, you can run your CPAP machine all night. Or maybe you've got a small 1000 watt space heater. You're running that in your RV all night. You can do that instead of burning your propane, and do all that on less than a gallon of gas over the course of a whole night.
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. So that's an inverter. We'll move on. We're going to skip ahead down to our Performance series, from our Whisper series to our Performance series. So Performance series generators are often called open frame generators. So we refer to them that way quite a bit for pretty obvious reasons. It's got an open frame. The Performance series generators, kind of in contrast to the inverters in the Whisper series, these will run 3600 RPM all the time. So from the moment you started, it's running 3600 RPM and it's making its maximum power, which on this one is 3,550 running watts. and it's making 3,550 watts no matter what's plugged into it. So if it's sitting here running with nothing plugged into it, it's still making that much power. Or if you demanded all of that power from it, it's just running the same RPMs all the time. Well, we've made these still pretty fuel efficient, and we put really big tanks on them. All of our 3,550 and 3,650 watt open frame performance series generators have a 5-gallon fuel tank, and so they can run 14 hours on 5 gallons of gas. The performance series generators are kind of the workhorse of the FIRMAN generator line. You're going to see these out in the field all the time on work trucks and things like that, where people just need reliable, simple power. Now the power doesn't go through an inverter module, so these aren't going to have the same clean power that an inverter does in the Whisper series, but these will go up to about 25% total harmonic distortion, but still plenty safe to use for pretty much everything. I mean, with the only exception would be like very sensitive electronic equipment. Anymore though, your laptops and things like that charge on power, they're conditioning the power before it goes into a laptop or something like that. If you think about that, your power adapter for your laptop plugs into the wall, and then you've got this little brick that's actually converting that power from the wall into DC power. So the power doesn't go usually straight from a generator or even from the wall into something like your laptop or most other electronic devices. There's very few items out there that we've heard of that have a problem with total harmonic distortion up to 25%. The one that comes to mind is if you have an uninterruptible power supply, a UPS, a little kind of battery pack that you plug your computer into in case the power goes out. Some of those UPSs have that problem where they demand very clean power, or they'll actually turn themselves off. But just about everything else, you'll have no problem running on a Performance Series generator. Now, because of their simplicity, our Performance Series generators are less expensive, more affordable than our Whisper Series or hybrid generators. This is the generator to buy if you're less concerned about decibel rating and noise. This one right here runs at 67 decibels. So everything in our 3,550 and 3,650 watt Performance Series is going to run at 67. And 67 still is not very loud. That's just a little bit noisier than a vacuum cleaner. So really not that loud. And if you're running, of course you're running it outside, but you can kind of get it away a little bit from where you're at. Lots of people still use these for their RVs and campers if they're dry camping. If you're in a campground or if you're in a national park, you probably want to go to a Whisper Series. Yeah. Just to be, all the national parks require that. You have to be less than 60 decibels. But also if you're in a campground where it's kind of tight quarters, just in deference to your neighbors, you probably want to use a Whisper Series.
And we actually just did an Every Gen Tells a Story on one of our newest people. And they actually bring it to sites where they're building kitchen and bath and things like that in homes that have no power.
Oh, sure,
and,
yeah.
And here in Arizona, they're building everywhere. So this is great for, contractors, business owners who are out working on homes that don't have any power or anything for their tools. So
that's a really great point, Megan. Like I said, this is definitely the workhorse for that kind of job site. Yeah. And then these are really affordable. Like this generator is probably going to retail for around $500. So getting that much power, 3,550 watts or 3,650 watts for a $500 retail is really affordable for most people. In a power outage situation too, if you're somewhere where that happens. If you're running this in your backyard, probably not that big of a nuisance to your neighbors at all. When the power's out, people expect to hear generators running, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not going to be nearly as loud as some of the other competitors that are out there on the market. And you're going to be able to get a lot of power and a lot of runtime too. It's so nice to be able to have that 14 hours of runtime where you can have it, start. It's running in the backyard when you fall asleep. It's still running when you wake up in the morning. Yeah. And 3,550 watts is enough to power your fridge, your freezer, your router, your modem, your TVs, your laptops, a small space heater, in some cases a window air conditioner, or maybe even a mini split air conditioner. So lots of power and lots of runtime. And of course, we make these in this size, and then also our 5,700 watts and 6,700 watts and 8,000 watts, and now in a 9,200 watt, and very soon in our Big V Twin, that's one of our performance series, that's 12,000 watts running 15,000 watts peak. So lots and lots of options in our performance series generators. So let's move on to hybrid generators. And there is some crossover sometimes, and we decided to show that here today. So this is a hybrid series, but it's also part of our Whisper series. So this is a dual fuel, which makes it hybrid. Hybrid means that it runs on more than one type of fuel. So this is our dual fuel inverter. This particular one is electric start. And so it's 3,000 watts running, 3,300 watts peak. But because it's hybrid, it'll run on gasoline and propane. We actually have in our hybrid series tri-fuel generators as well. We have a 4,000 watt tri-fuel, that's our T04073. We have a 7,500 watt tri-fuel, an 8,000 watt tri-fuel, and more to come in that category as well. Megan's demonstrating just how easy it is to switch from gas to propane. There's a big knob here. That's running on gas, and that's running on propane. Very, very simple. We have a regulator that pops into this quick connect that connects to a bottle of propane. You can use, kind of your standard 20-pound propane bottle that you use with a barbecue, or you can go all the way up to like a 100-pound propane bottle. And I know people have also connected our hybrid generators to really large propane tanks. If you live in a rural area, you might have a 250-gallon propane tank, and you can talk to your propane guys and have them connect your generator in through a quick connect that way as well.
Yeah, and you did do a demonstration in one of our last two videos of how to connect that, and it's so incredibly easy.
It really is.
And it lasts so long. I mean, I can't believe that I've never used that before, so it's definitely something we want to try.
Yeah, in our testing, we found that this generator at 3,000 watts will, on a 20-pound barbecue propane cylinder, will run about 15 hours.
Wow.
So lots of run time. They run cleaner too. I'll tell you what's interesting. Recently we were at Daytona, the Daytona 500, and we had our trailer out there, our big FIRMAN trailer, and we were running a Pit Boss pellet grill, and we were grilling for everybody. And the first day we ran the Pit Boss pellet grill and a fan and lights, and actually the whole Miller Lite tent that was next to us on one of this exact generator, actually our electric start 3,300 watt inverter. We were running on propane, and not only did you not hear it, like people were kind of looking around, we'd walk them over there and see it running, but you also didn't smell it. I noticed, running it on propane, it definitely runs cleaner than on gasoline, because then the second day we ran all that same stuff, but we ran it on one of these on our 1,700 watt inverter running on gas. And I noticed the odor of gasoline smelling versus the odor of propane.
And that's good to know, like
burning,
family events, gatherings, you don't really want that to smell around, or even camping, So
no, you're totally right. There's definitely a difference running on propane. Running on propane, I know we've talked about this before, but there's just so many benefits to that. It's fuel versatility. So you can fill this tank with 1.8 gallons of gas, and you're going to get about 9 hours on that.
Yeah.
But then you also have propane, so now you've got two fuel sources with you.
Yeah.
Also, if you're traveling with the generator, traveling with propane is just so much easier than traveling with gas. You could have a bottle of propane in the trunk of your car, and you're not going to smell it. You don't have to worry about it spilling. It's safe, and then propane also stores for a very, very long time. So if you store gasoline, less than over 6 months, your gasoline's going to start going bad. With propane, that's really not an issue. So lots and lots of benefits of running on propane. But odor, turns out, is an additional one.
Well, and I remember a lot of calls last year that we got around storm season where, hey, we can't get our hands on gasoline where we're at. Getting to a gas station or going to a gas station that actually has fuel during a time where everyone is,
that's a really big deal.
It's just much easier to keep these stored and have them, and you don't have to search around for it. And
yeah, I know there's been some areas of the country, like places down in Florida, where they've talked about requiring gas stations to have backup generators, because it's a big problem, like you said. I mean, when the power goes out, if the gas stations don't have power, they also can't pump gas.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize that. And so that was a really common topic that came up on a lot of the calls.
Yeah.
So
I know, people that live in areas where they lose power a lot, they know
they
about
know.
this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they've waited in those long lines to get gas, or had gas stations that just ran out of gas. I know, you guys that live in parts of the country that get storms a lot, you've experienced this where, in the days leading up to the storm, everybody's going and filling their tanks in their cars, they're filling up every gas can they have.
Yeah.
They're just trying to be prepared, and the gas stations run out a lot.
Yeah.
So propane usually is a lot easier to get your hands on. You can buy the propane bottles out of those, self-serve dispensers, or they're kind of all over the place at hardware stores like Lowe's, and they're everywhere around the country. But these are really the three main families of generators that we have. Again, Whisper Series, Performance Series, and Hybrid Series. We have a new family that's coming out that we're working on now, that it'll be arriving in the summer, and that's our battery storage system. We're calling it our Zero E. So Zero E battery storage systems, they have outlets just like a generator does, they just don't have a gasoline engine. So they run on lithium iron phosphate batteries, and it's a whole new section of our website that we're building right now. And so we're excited to launch that, and I think there's going to be so many creative ways that people are going to use that product. I know one of them that just we've been talking about a lot recently is the whole gamer community that's out there. So people who are really seriously into, they call it esports, where they're competing online with other people in gaming competitions, and it's critical that their computers stay on. So using our new Zero E battery storage system as an uninterruptible power supply, just make sure that you can, if the power goes out, you're going to keep going for hours and hours and hours on our Zero E. There's lots of other uses for it, using it in that same method to keep your refrigerator and your freezer on. I know, it's one of the things that makes me nervous when we go on vacation is, I've got a freezer full of game in the garage of my house, and if the power goes out while I'm gone, I would never even know it, and you could just have all that meat spoil. So having a backup power supply that's automatic like that is just really wonderful. So we're excited to add a new category and a new category of products to our lineup as well.
Yep, we have a sneak peek coming out, blog and social posts, so you'll get a bunch of inside details about it and new videos, just to kind of give you another summary and more views and different ways that you can use it, and how it's gonna be awesome.
It's exciting.
We're so excited.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Of course, there's one other category on our website, and that's accessories.
Yeah.
It doesn't fall into these categories, but take a look at that if you haven't seen it before. There's tons of cords and covers and parallel kits and
wheel kits
and storage straps.
Yeah.
So take a look at that as well, and all kinds of fun things coming out of Firman. We look forward to talking to you guys next week. Were there any questions that popped up during the call?
I didn't see any. Just mentioning that some folks are excited because they have a couple of the 3500 watt gen, and that it is in Africa, that is the most popular gen. So
that's true.
They're excited about that. But no questions that I saw.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on the comments on the videos as more people log in and watch them, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
All right.
Bye, everyone.